My name is Gray Mackenzie. I'm a co-founder at DoInbound. We're a project management software and agency training provider, largely in the HubSpot agency space, but extending to a lot of agency models.
Awesome. So I'm going to tell, I have not a lot of knowledge of DoInbound. I'd love to know just a little bit more and maybe you can, debrief a little bit about that.
Yeah, that sounds good. Do you want me to start sharing now? I don't know if you want to do. Okay.
Yeah. So maybe I guess talk about where did DoInbound come from? Like what was the premise behind it? And obviously you guys were running an agency. Do you still have an agency?
We do still have GuavaBox. There's not a ton going on there, but yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So I'd love to know, I guess, the birth of DoInbound and then
where it came from.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of the background is we were running GuavaBox, joined the HubSpot partner program in 2012, HubSpot Gold in 2013. And as we started to scale up, so it took us a couple of years with GuavaBox to figure out what the heck we were doing, who we were, and just at starting a business out of college. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't trade that experience for anything.
Where'd you go to school?
A small private Christian school in Western Pennsylvania called Grove City College.
Okay.
Enrollment's about 2,500. And that's how we met. Andrew and I were teammates on a lacrosse team there.
Oh, cool.
For the record, he was a much better lacrosse player than I was. He was an All-American goalie. I was a second string midfielder for a good chunk of college, and then had a worse team my senior year, so I got to start on attack. But
that's awesome.
But yeah, so we'd gotten really close in college, wanted to start a business together, but there was just a lot of figuring out what the heck were we doing and going all in kind of on inbound and actually investing in it for ourselves was kind of the turning point for GuavaBox. But then we hit this point where all of a sudden the business needed to grow beyond what we could handle.
Sure.
And we were scaling up. We ran into a bunch of problems just trying to scale and build the systems and everything. We went to inbound for the first time and first time, I think 2013. Mm-hmm. And we talked to a bunch of people who were kind of in the same boat. And we tried all the different project management platforms that were out there.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Never really found success. We thought, well, the answer is to build our own. A bunch of other people were interested in what we were building, specific for inbound agencies like ourselves. Mm-hmm. So we started building DoInbound. End of 2013, we actually relaunched. We launched a really crappy MVP in, I want to say, November of 2013.
That's great.
And everyone loved the idea of it. The execution wasn't that good. So we wound up rebuilding kind of what we initially started built out. Mm-hmm. In 2014, 2015, we relaunched that. And early or mid 2015, we kind of moved the team from GuavaBox, poached from ourselves. So it didn't really help us, but move the team over to DoInbound.
Yeah. And
have been building since then. So that's kind of where DoInbound came from. Mm-hmm. I think the biggest thing that we've learned, John, is that we really thought software was going to be the answer, like a better tool would fix the problem, but really it's more of a systemic problem. Like, do you have the right way to manage and break down projects that you're running and kind of the strategy behind it? So as we've gone along, we started building out a couple training courses kind of around some of those themes and around the biggest lessons that we learned. And so kind of dipped our feet into the training waters. That went really well, and found when we bring these two things together, like a software platform, but also the training and the templates and the strategy behind how to use it. The agencies who do that, you got this handful of customers who are software only, and they're having some level of success, and training only customers. But then when we were able to bring those two together, we really had a lot of success once people could actually implement kind of what they were learning.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we are today. Even though most people think of us as a software first company, and there's a lot of really attractive things about the software business model, but the long-term, like agency success, we almost de-emphasize the software a little bit to kind of focus on strategy and the training, the system behind, and then you're just hiring a tool to fulfill a job once you actually know what you need and want.
Absolutely. I think that's really smart. I love the training side of things when it comes to just any kind of software that we implement. I think that's where a lot of companies really fall flat is, I don't know, like HubSpot would be nothing without the inbound methodology.
For sure.
It's a great tool, but a tool is just a tool.
Yeah.
And so and most of the other softwares that don't have training or like a knowledge center, or they're helping you develop a process around it, we end up either just scratching it altogether, or we repurpose it and make it our own thing. Like we currently use Asana for all of our project management. And I'm fairly certain that the way we use it is not the way that it's intended to be used. But it's working great for what we're doing right now. I mean, obviously I have tons of things that I'd love to see different. But that's kind of, I'm right there with you. So maybe talk to me a little bit more about the training. Like how in depth is the training, and what are you guys doing with it? Because I think that's something that could be really helpful for a lot of people. Right.
Yeah. So it kind of started with, and I think that there's probably some overlap here between what we figured out at Guava Box. When we really started to sell more effectively, we started offering a discovery project as the first phase. So like the inbound marketing game plan for clients as the first phase of a relationship. Do you guys go through that? Is that similar to what the Foundry is?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. So, well, it probably took us way longer to figure that out than it took you to figure it out. But once we figured it out, we started really having success. So that was kind of the first training piece. Was a lot of people were asking, like, how do I think that the reason that piece is so impactful to people is that's like the natural bridge between sales and delivery. So as a gross oversimplification of agencies, like you've either got agencies who are good at sales and bad at delivery, or bad at sales and good at delivery. And there's a lot of creatives who could really deliver a lot of value, but they can't sell it. And people the other way. And if you're going to take an agency and grow an agency, like you got to figure out how to do both those things well. And so the game plan kind of helps people in both areas. Like it makes sales a lot easier than trying to sell what HubSpot at the time, and maybe today still is teaching, of sell a 12-month retainer up front and charge people all this money with results that they're not sure exactly what it's going to look like, but hopefully you hit their goals. That was a challenge for us to sell. And then the delivery side of things, like what are you actually going to do if you close that? You're not going to start writing blog posts with no strategy. Like you need to have some kind of plan in place. So that piece, having been impactful for us, was the first piece of training that we rolled out. So that's our Let's Game Plan training. And so it's basically everything that agencies need to know how to sell it in the first place, sell the game plan or that discovery project, whatever that maps to for them.
Oh, it's very smart. Yeah.
How to actually build and deliver it. And then obviously on the back end of that, you can't just sell that and hope that you get there. Like the end goal is still to go for the retainer. It's just not to lead with the biggest commitment out of the gate. So on the back end of that, how do you actually deliver that and upsell off of that?
There's a lot of people that need help with that. Are you doing any work in Europe? Do you have many clients overseas using software? Yeah,
Europe's been a big one. I was actually just looking at, so we use Intercom for like support and stuff, and they've got the map. That's one of the first things you see in there is like where people are at. So obviously Europe's, it's pretty much the biggest English speaking countries. So you got like the US and Australia and Canada, and but then a bunch in Europe. Obviously the UK, but kind of spread all around Norway, Finland, Sweden, Germany, Spain. But it is kind of funny to see where people kind of, as it's grown over time to all the different countries that folks are in now.
And so, and a lot of that, I think, kind of piggybacks off of like HubSpot's involvement in some of these countries. Like when we hit Diamond in 2016, I had some other channel account managers from the Dublin office reach out and say, hey, got a number of really, excited clients, excited partners that are looking like to do more inbounds coming up. I'm bringing a bunch over. Would you mind just, grabbing a drink and talking? And I was like, well, I mean, sure. Like I've fucked up so much along the way. I'll be happy to still messing shit up right now. So like, let's talk and I'll tell you everything that I've messed up. So I ended up having a really great conversation with some of the Italian partners. Some of them were like prospective partners and some of them were actual partners. And it kind of blossomed into this evening of like talking about strategies and how we're selling and just a bunch of things that they just wanted to know more information. And one of them had said, well, hey, why don't you come over to Italy and in the summer and we'll do like a training session. And I was like, sure, why not? Like I'll if you're paying for it, obviously, like I'll be happy to come over there. And so I brought two of my staff. I brought our director of operations and our director of development. We went to Italy. Actually, I brought my family too. We went on like a vacation afterwards, but I got to go to Italy and we did a 3-day pretty intensive workshop, and it went over just that, like agency selling, the difference between retainer model and like a foot in the door kind of offer, and the mindset and the changing. And so we're getting more and more into that. When we finished that, we had the French partners were interested in the same thing. So I did the same thing in Paris in November. And then we're testing that model out online. So we have like a 10-week long workshop going on. It just meets for an hour every other week, rather than just 2 or 3 days intense all days.
Right.
And it goes pretty well, but I like, that's the exact model of talking through sales and structure and just agency life in general. Yeah.
Right. Man, there's so much that it really is, and it's kind of turned into, starting from like that training, but it really is kind of turned into what were all the things that we wish we would have known and the journey. But man, you're right. I mean, there's such a need for that, and so many people who are, I think, to me, the big thing that kind of stands out is like there's a pivot point that needs to be made for pretty much every agency out there. There's not that many agency owners who I talk to who went into it thinking like, I really want to run a business and be a manager. Yeah. Most of them went into it because they had a skill, like they were good at, and I don't know what your story, I'm trying to remember how you got into it, but like
we were doing WordPress.
Yeah. I'm good at web design, or I'm good at, Facebook ads. I'm good at whatever. And so I started a business, and they want to have their own thing and their own business. And there's some entrepreneurial tendencies there, but it's not really like, I'm not in this to run a full scale business. And at some point there's a transition that needs to be made if you want to keep growing it, where you need to say, okay, I'm no longer like the web dev guy. Now I'm like the business owner guy, and hire other people and build the systems to allow them to go. And when people don't recognize, in a lot of cases, like people just don't recognize that transition is happening or needs to happen. Yeah. And so if you try to halfway do that, like things just fall apart and don't go well. You kind of need to embrace that switch and role as an agency owner. And I think that's where a lot of the people who recognize that and are willing and excited about making that switch, which I think is another thing that people need to realize is like, if you don't want to make that switch, that's absolutely a valid answer. And that doesn't mean that you're not successful, or that you're not like, that's a great thing to know and recognize about yourself, or hire someone else to do it, or
that's what I was going to say.
Whatever the situation is. I
don't think it means like, just because the agency needs to scale, you might not be managerial
person to,
or salesperson. You don't have to be. And I think that's probably what causes so many agencies to fail, because somebody who is not intended to be a CEO now has 8 people working under them, and they don't know what the hell they're doing. And they'll fake it till they make it kind of thing. But at the end of the day, they're not taking the right steps. And when in all honesty, they could have probably just hired somebody to come in and run that. And maybe they're managing just the product development. They're managing creative of the agency, obviously still owning all of it. But just, I want you to come in, Mr. CEO, and manage the day-to-day. And how we're going to maneuver through problems. And you can be the one that has to go talk to the attorneys and the bank and this kind of stuff.
Right. It is crazy. And then there's people who complain or just point out validly that the turnover rate in agency life is absurd. And I think it's unfair to say, like, that's just a small business space. That's not unique to agencies. It's anybody who you had a skill set like that. This is what happens when you have people who weren't trying to run businesses initially, where their idea of running a business is different still today from the reality of the business that is in front of them. So I think you're right. Like, all of a sudden you're running an 8-person team, but you still don't think of yourself as the manager of 8 people. Like, guess what's going to happen?
Exactly.
Things are going to you're going to naturally tend to do the things that you get excited about doing and gravitate towards.
I agree. What's like big picture stuff for you guys? Are you guys going to grow and scale and become a big conglomerate software? Are you going to branch out into other softwares, outside of agencies? What do you?
I think the direction that we're going to go, John, is I think we're going to double down on the training side of things. Mm-hmm. So I think we've got I kind of look at, obviously we're most tied in because of our HubSpot roots into the HubSpot world, but outside of that too, but HubSpot world, you've got Diamond partners like yourself who are using Asana, but there's Diamond partners using Jira, there's Diamond partners using Teamwork, there's Diamond partners using Basecamp or DoInbound or ClickUp or, any number of tools. And I think that what we're seeing is like for people to scale, they really need the system behind them. So kind of double down on the on kind of like the bigger picture system stuff.
Yep.
And so continue to focus on that side of things, and then have the software as like, and here's an easy way to deploy a lot of it. So part of the big differentiator of DoInbound for a lot of agencies is that it comes with a bunch of pre-built templates for how to do things and processes for how to do things. So it's instead of the blank slate that Asana is or Trello is or whatever else is, it's a super powerful, awesome tool. I have nothing against any of the other tools, despite the fact that we compete with them. Like I think they're great tools, but you need to bring your own infrastructure to them.
Yeah, you do.
And so it's a big part of and if you're at the point where you can bring the infrastructure or you don't mind banging your head along the way to build it out yourself, that works great. The DoInbound value prop is like, you've got the tool here built specifically for what you're doing. It's not a blank canvas. It's got more structure and rigidity to it, but it also comes preloaded with templates and processes. And so kind of use the training, I think, could apply to people regardless of the software platform.
Yeah.
But then inside the software platform, we're kind of able to really hone in and deliver. I think some of the training stuff, to be honest, is in some ways, there's some short-term like quick wins. The game plan training is a great example of like, you can take this. We have people take it and go and sell it. Ryan Shelley from Shelley Media Arts down in Florida went through the training and sold 106K of new business. And
that's awesome.
After going through. So there's people, and there's a lot of stories like that where people have had quick wins from that.
Yep.
But a lot of the work that you put in systematically is kind of more, there's long-term benefit to the short-term investment. The templates and stuff like that we deliver through the software, a lot of that stuff can be really quick win where you can plug in and kind of benefit immediately from having those processes.
Yeah. Are you guys looking at expanding your training? I mean, are you going to offer training as a standalone element?
Yeah. Yep. So we're moving in that direction right now.
That's smart. I like that move.
I think what we're also looking at, and I'd be curious to know, like on the one hand, we're expanding our training. So we're adding more training stuff. I'd be curious to hear your initial gut reaction on this. On the other hand, we're looking right now at kind of simplifying the delivery model. So instead of saying you've got this sales course and this game plan course and this like agency owner vision course and this people course and all these different fragmented things, putting it all into one kind of structured program, similar to what you're doing right now, where you're running a cohort through, you've got, I forget whether you said 10 weeks or 12 weeks.
Like a workshop
of calls, but where there will be material that's to some degree self-paced, but there's a clear structure to what order you go through, and kind of all the training gets wrapped into one structured course. If you've been through any of that stuff or feel like there's value in, I think there's certainly pros and cons to both approaches, but that's kind of what we're working through right now.
Yeah. Are you doing it live, or is it going to be all just recorded classes that people can digest on their own?
Right. A combo. So the material itself will be recorded and live in, use Teachable for delivering the courses themselves. And so it's video plus templates plus text and stuff. There would be like a group. Let's rewind. A group coaching aspect, and probably some element of individualized coaching kind of layered on top of that. So there's some degree of go at your own pace. So if it takes longer for you to make your way through it, or you have time to blitz through it, you can work your way through it kind of at your own pace. But you also have the coaching element to then apply with more specificity the pieces that you need or get individualized advice.
I think it's super smart. I like the idea of almost like a mastermind, like you just having this cohort, as you're calling, like getting in every couple of weeks, or maybe it's weekly or monthly or whatever you want to break it down to. I have found it helpful to schedule regular meetings. I meet with other agency owners, sometimes just one-on-one. We've done a couple group calls in the past, but just to talk through what the hell is going on.
Right.
And just, there's a couple diamond partners that I'm really close with, and we'll shoot the shit and be like, gosh, things are just crazy. It's just really nice to vent, and also to hear other people vent as well, but then problem solve together. Like a lot of the times I'll have a solution that, somebody wasn't thinking about, and vice versa. And so, just the idea of communication regularly is good. From a coaching aspect, it's also really helpful when you hear, other people in a similar situation as you, share the same problems that they're facing, and being able to work together with a leader of that group to kind of problem solve. I think it's brilliant. I think it's a brilliant model you're working through. Let me know how Web Canopy Studio can help out, because I'm happy to jump on a call with you guys and talk through it.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I appreciate that, and we'll definitely take you up on that. Yeah,
we'll share your stuff on social as well once you get it. If you have the class already up and running, let me know. We'll shoot me a link. We'll take it.
Cool. Yeah, we're in the process right now of rebuilding it from we've got like 4 or 5 different courses right now. So to try and get those. So,
well, that's awesome, man. I'll catch up offline. I actually have some ideas for you, so I'll shoot you an email with some follow up.
Perfect. Sounds good. Thanks, John.
We'll catch you later.
All right. See you, man.
Bye-bye.